You're here. Welcome to the Masterminding Success podcast. They say if you want to be successful in business and in life, then surround yourself with successful people. So pull up a seat. The mastermind is about to begin.
Hey, glad you could join us for another episode of the Masterminding Success podcast. We're your hosts, Keith Wheeler
and Nuria Corby.
And what are we talking about today, Nuria?
Oh, well, today we're going to talk about how to give proper feedback. And I think by that we mean how to give feedback in a way that it's a good way to help somebody. So, because we've talked about it in our last episode, didn't we, Keith? And it's hard sometimes to take feedback because of the way it's given.
Right.
But there are definitely more diplomatic ways to do that.
There are. And you know, there's so many different ways. I mean, you can give feedback that's not helpful at all and not even mean to. Like, you don't know you're not giving helpful feedback, you know, and I think part of it is and a lot of times our feedback is going to be opinion based anyway. But I think one thing to keep in mind is to, if especially if you have any kind of negative emotion to it, is to give it some time before you actually provide the feedback. You know, if you, you know, whether it's a book review or a review on a business, you know, if you just went to a restaurant and you had a really bad experience, you can leave a review, and you can even leave a negative review. But I would say take a step back and give yourself some, 24 hours or whatever to think about it before you actually leave that review. So that way the review has a much better chance of being constructive and not destructive, you know?
Yeah. I think that's a good point. And also, you know, before you give feedback or before you give your opinion, it's, you know, ask yourself, is what I'm doing really just giving my opinion, or is what I'm doing helping this person improve?
Right.
You know, if the feedback is negative. Obviously, if it's good feedback, go for it. Just praise them and whatever, because that, you know, I think it's nice to uplift other people and help them along. Life's too full of complications as it is. We don't have to add to that. But if your feedback is going to be negative about something, just, you know, bear in mind that you could really crush someone with a negative feedback, and just ask yourself, well, is it my opinion? Am I fed up about something? Is this triggering me for some reason that's not really that person's fault? You know, is it something that I've got a problem with? And if that's the case, I would say wait until you give that feedback and just think about it a little bit. And because I think feedback is supposed to help the person, or is supposed to help the people reading the feedback. And, you know, it's supposed to give them some kind of information that gives them a balanced view of what they're going to buy or of what they're going to read, if it's books, you know, that kind of thing. There's a good example, actually, which I found today. I was doing some research for my children's book class, and I was looking at the 10, our 10 most favorite children's books, and it was by other authors. And the number one book, I clicked on it and I thought, oh, let's see what this is. And it was selling quite well, but it only had one review, and it was a 3-star review on Amazon. And I thought, I wonder what, you know, why only 3 stars? And I read the review, and all it said is, it's okay. I thought, this is the number one most favorite book voted by this group of authors, and it had one 3-star review that said, it's okay. That review doesn't help anybody, you know, because it doesn't really say anything about the book. It doesn't, you know, it's a worthless review, really. And it's damaging
really
to the
is.
author.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, almost comedically, I would give that review a 3, you know, because it's average. It doesn't give anything helpful. Whether you're giving positive feedback or negative feedback, the important information and the important thing to keep in mind is, even though part of it may be opinion based, is it being helpful? Is it helping is it help, like if you're talking about reviews, and obviously when I talk about criticisms and feedback, reviews are one way that you can do it, but it could also be, a comment, someone asks a question in a Facebook group and you're giving feedback, what do you think of my cover, whatever. Regardless of what it is, you the information you give, the feedback that you give needs to be helpful, whether it's positive or negative. I mean, even, because you were saying, if it's positive, hey, just share it. And I agree with that, but I still think it still needs to be helpful. Like just saying this, a 5-star review and this is great, that still doesn't help anybody. I mean, the 5-star helps with the algorithm, but it doesn't help the author know, great, what about it is great? What did you like? So I know to continue to do that. And it also doesn't help the person reading it, the customer, because it doesn't tell them why it's great. Does it have a great story? Is it engaging, whatever. And so the same thing about, if art's a perfect example. Art is very, subjective. So if someone says, what do you think of this book cover? And it's, a lot of it is going to be art related, and it is going to be opinion based. Art I might like, you don't, or vice versa. But I need to be I need to be detailed in why I like it. What do I like about it? What do I not like about it? And ask yourself, am I reviewing, or am I giving feedback on what was asked of me? Or am I going too far? Am I attacking that? Like if it's a negative, especially if it's a negative, that tends to happen more frequently, is am I attacking the creator or am I attacking the product? And that's what you really need to, kind of dial in on when you're giving feedback is, if someone asks you about their cover, are you attacking, maybe you just don't like horror books? Well, if you don't like horror stories, then you're probably not going to be able to give a good quality review or good quality constructive criticism, because you really don't like anything about them. You don't like, you're not going to like the cover, even if it's a great cover. So keep that in mind is are you, like, what you're going to give feedback on, is it going to be helpful?
Absolutely. I think, when we decided on doing this topic, I had it really more from the perspective of when you give negative review, what should you do,
right?
To give a proper, a good review, but even though it's a negative one. But actually, now that you've mentioned a few points here, I can see that, you can give good reviews that are not necessarily helpful as well. And that's very true. So whether your review or your feedback or your criticism is positive or negative, there's still a way of giving that feedback that is helpful to the other person, to the person who has produced the product or written the book or selling the product, but also to the buyers that are coming to read the reviews to see if it's worth getting that book or getting that product, whatever it is. So I think, and I'm trying to think back when I've been giving reviews, whether I've done that. And to be honest, I don't give many reviews. I kind of, I only give reviews when something is really good. And I don't even give any reviews when something is really bad, because I don't, I know how hard it is to be someone online selling things. I don't want to add to that problem. So I don't really give reviews. I just don't buy anything more from them, or I don't use their service, but I don't really leave negative reviews, although I'm tempted sometimes.
Yeah.
But I hope that even if I'm angry with something or I don't like something that much, I do hope that I will still, take my own advice and give a review that's helpful. It's not always easy. That's why sometimes it's a good idea to just give it a day or so, and then think about what kind of review you give. But yeah, even if you are giving a positive review to someone, there's a way to do it in a helpful way. And I always say that when you're giving a negative review or negative feedback to something, if you say somebody posts a cover of their book and it's not really a very nice cover, and you can tell, but they're obviously, they may be new, they don't know yet. I think a good way to start giving a review is by pointing out the things that they have done right, to maybe the colors are very good. So you can start off by saying, I really like the choice of colors, or I really like your layout, but, and then hit them with what you really want to help them with. But I think that it needs to be balanced, and it's always good to put some positive points in there as well. And you can do that at the beginning or at the end. You can tell them all the bad things first and then say, but what you've done right is this, this, and that. And I think that's more helpful than just hitting them with all the negatives, because they've come to you for help.
Right.
And that's what you should be offering back, not, and don't help them, or don't put them down in any way, even though you're giving a negative review, because I think that's not helpful. At the end of the day, it depends what you want to do. Do you want to help them or not? So, but I think most of us want to help when we leave a review or when we leave a critique. So there's a way of doing that. And to me, the proper way to do that is to be helpful. And you said that earlier as well. So
yes. Some people do the cookie method or the sandwich method, where they give like a good, bad, and then good again. I do think that starting off positive helps, because it's very easy, even if all you're giving is pure facts, like you're not, your opinion's not even in there, it's just facts. The person receiving it, if all they see is, even if you do give them positives at the end, if you start out with negatives, they're automatically going to be on the defensive. So I really think that starting out with positive, and whether you do positive and then you give some suggestions at the end, or you do positive, negative, positive, whatever, I think starting out positive is really important. Before you click send, whether it's a review or it's a comment on a Facebook page or whatever, before you click send, read it back. Read it from the perspective of the person that's going to be reading it, and ask yourself, am I giving opinion or am I giving facts? Obviously, we're human beings. We're going to give our opinions, and that's fine. But make sure that, especially if it's negative, that there are facts in there, that you're, not necessarily statistics and things like that, but just like, things that, like you said, are going to be helpful, that they can take from it and learn from it, make changes if they want to, or whatever. Even if they don't agree with it, at least they can see that it's, it's factual, it's something based on, the way, the spacing of your letters are a little bit too close together, it's hard for me to read it, whatever. And so again, it's something that they can learn from, because at the end of the day, the one thing that we only have a finite amount of is time. And so why waste your time giving feedback, giving criticisms, if the person is not going to take it, if they're not going to learn anything from it? And so if you want to be selfish about it and look at it from that perspective, don't waste your time unless you're going to be helpful, because nothing's going to benefit from it unless you just want to write, and if that's the case, write a book, write on Wattpad, try to make some money off of it or whatever. But yeah, so I think that, and getting back to reviews, because I do leave a lot of reviews, and I don't have a problem giving negative reviews, because I feel like, but I don't do it with opinion. I do it based on what I've seen. And the reason why is because, and this has taken years for me to get to this mindset, is like, if I buy a product or if I read a book or whatever, and it's not good, I owe it to the person that is thinking to spend their hard-earned money on it, to tell them what I thought of it. And the quality is poor, the value isn't really there based on the price, whatever it may be. But again, giving detail, like even something positive like a 4-star review, why was it not a 5-star review? It was really great, I do wish that blah blah blah. So again, giving detail doesn't mean it has to be a long, written 5-paragraph dissertation, but something that's going to be beneficial to the creator of the product, or the person that posted or whatever, and also other people that are going to be reading it. whether it's a review and it could be other customers, or if it's a Facebook post, other people in the group can learn from what you've said, even if it's not their product, even if it's not their book cover, they can still learn. Oh, Keith said, Keith brought up a good point about the spacing of the letters. I didn't even think of that. So you're helping other people by giving even if it is your opinions, giving it in detail. Like, and again, I'm not, like I said, I'm not talking about writing, paragraphs, but, short, sweet, and to the point, but make sure that you're being helpful, something that whoever else is reading it besides you can learn something, can take something from it.
That is such a good point. I mean, that's really something that I've now had another light bulb moment, because actually everything I know, I learned from other people giving their opinion on somebody
Right.
else's work. That's how I learned everything about KDP. I used to be in so many Facebook groups. I never asked a question, I don't think,
Yeah.
but I used to read everything, and that's how I learned
Right.
everything about KDP. And I used to spend a long time on Facebook, in Facebook groups, but it was invaluable to me because there was so much information there. And I like what you said about, starting off with a positive and then a negative, and then because you're absolutely right. I think you made that point really, really well. If you're starting off with a negative, that could put them off straight away. They might stop reading and not get to the
Right.
good bit. And
then they don't learn anything from it. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And I also think that, the way I sometimes, because I think I'm over the top with trying to not hurt people's feelings, and sometimes maybe I should try that. I don't know. I try not to, but I always think of, when I explain something to someone, I think of it as explaining something to my mother or to a family
Right.
member. How would I talk to them? I wouldn't just
Right.
say, oh, that's horrible, or
Mhm.
I don't like that. I wouldn't say that. I would try and
Right.
say it in a way how you would speak to a person that you respect and love. And we should treat everybody like that.
Right. I
And
agree.
I think, we should really. And the other thing is, when I used to be in Facebook groups and somebody would post their cover or their interior and ask for somebody's opinion, and I saw a lot of replies that were on the lines of, yes, it's okay, but it's not very professional, or it doesn't look professional. That doesn't mean anything to anybody.
Right.
What is that doesn't look professional? I think it's worth explaining more about that. If you just say that's not professional, that's a very abstract term for somebody who's
Right.
just starting. So it's always better, and I think you made that point earlier, to say why you dislike something, or
Right.
why you think, or where you could improve this. Is it the color choice? Is it the layout? Is it the overall design? What is it about it that you don't think is very professional looking? So and sometimes it's hard to express that. Even for me, I sometimes look at something and I think, oh, it doesn't look very professional, but
Yeah.
how can I express that? What is it about this that doesn't look professional? And it's good for us to think about it as well, because it teaches us something. Why does this not look professional? What is it about it? It doesn't look polished. Well, what does that mean?
Right. Yeah, because I mean, there are things that sometimes you don't know what it is. You're like, something just doesn't look right. And
Yeah.
again, like you said, like take a little more time. Analyze it, because you're actually teaching yourself something too. Something,
Exactly.
because subconsciously, if we're talking about book covers, we've been in the business long enough. We know what quote looks right and what doesn't.
Yeah.
But why? I mean, that's subconscious, but consciously, like, what is it about that? Because even though we've been doing this for years, there's still things that we can learn, and I learn things every single day. Something
Yeah.
new, and so yeah, so taking if you take the time to give a little bit more detail, not just a blanket statement that, like you said, is not going to be helpful. If your comment is a 3-star, it's a 3-star comment, it's bland, it's got nothing real value in it. Why waste your time writing it?
That's very true. And I mean, like you said, the 3-star ones are the ones that are really sort of in the middle. What do you make
Yeah.
of that? And I can understand that some people you might buy something or a book or whatever and think it's okay, but it's not, it's not lighting my fire, or it's not, and you would give it a 3 star. Sometimes it's as simple as that. And that's not very helpful, but you've given your opinion and I guess it's valid. But yes, to give a good, to give good feedback and to be helpful with that feedback, I think you need to put more information into that.
Right.
But yeah, I wouldn't say it's an easy thing to do, but and feedback is one thing, but then giving an opinion on someone's work in a Facebook group or something is a different thing altogether as well. And that's not easy either. And we've talked about book covers a lot because that's the kind of thing that we see a lot, where people say, I've designed this book, what do you think? Or titles, that's the other thing, or anything about book publishing. There is just so much where people are asking because they're new, they want to learn. And like you said earlier, there's a lot I'm learning every day just by looking at other people. And book covers are the one thing that I find fascinating because I've made certain books in different covers where the interior is the same. And the ones that I thought were not so good are the ones that are selling. So what do I know about covers? So it's very, when you critique somebody's cover, it's kind of your opinion as well, and somebody else might have a different view on it. So it's a tricky one, really. It's sometimes there are obviously design rules or laws that you can follow, but it's not always about that either. Sometimes it's about taste, and we all have different taste. So who knows?
And I was gonna say, I think that really drives home the if you how you can tell if what you're giving is fact or an opinion. If you can't say why, if you can't say why you feel that way, then it's probably just your opinion.
That's
what I mean?
Such a good point. Yes.
Like if if that cover doesn't look professional, why doesn't it look professional? I don't know. It just doesn't. Well, then that's your opinion. If if it doesn't look professional because of the letter spacing is too close together, or it's off centered, maybe the author name is off center or whatever, then these are facts. These are things that I can point out. Then it's more, one, it's going to be more helpful, and two, again, this is more fact-based and not just opinionated. So that's another way to look at it is, is the feedback I'm giving, can I give details? Can I give examples of not just, what they did wrong, but one thing that's super helpful is, I'm talking mainly like if someone's asking you on Facebook or whatever about a cover, again, as an example, if you can give examples of one that's done correctly, that again is giving them more information. It's helping people out. And again, it's not just helping out the person that you're giving it to, but whoever else may see it.
Whoever else is reading it. Absolutely.
Right. But again, the same thing with, with reviews. I mean, I've given plenty of 1-star reviews, but my 1-star reviews, I explain why. It's not just, I have never left a review that says this product is crap. First of all, that's, words like that, that's another way you can tell its opinion is, that it's, again, if there's no detail behind it, it's just my opinion. And so, I'll say, I usually try to point out something positive. Even if it's, a 1-star review, the price is right. You know what I mean? Something along those lines, something positive, like, it's a really low price point. So there's a low barrier of entry. However, there were, quite a few things that I disliked about it, this, and this. And again, it really helps with the creator to learn how to make their next product better. But also people that are reading it can be like, okay, he makes some really good points. If these things wouldn't bother me, then I can still get the product, Yeah,
that's very true. And it's also sometimes about how they have created it. What tools do they have available? Maybe they've done something which is okay with very limited resources and very limited tools, in which case actually it's more than okay then,
Right. Yeah.
but we don't see that, we don't know that, so there's a lot to giving proper feedback, and I don't know if I always get it right, probably not, but it's a good idea to try at least.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, and nobody's perfect. And,
No.
there's going to be days when you, something happens, whether it's a restaurant you went to or whatever, and you just had a bad experience and you just want to go in there and you just want to be heard. And I mean, social media is riddled with those kind of comments.
Oh my God,
And
yes.
that's one of the times that's why I'm always, that's one reason why, honestly, I very seldom use social media for anything but my business. Um, because I don't want to add to any of that negativity, and I don't want to honestly be part of it. I don't want to read it. And that's one reason why I always suggest that before you post anything, to give it time, make sure that you're posting whatever it is based on, I don't want to say 100% based on facts if it's just like a Facebook post or whatever. But, you know, is what you're posting on social media or whatever, is it going to help anybody, or is it just going to bring other people down? I mean, the news by itself is negative enough,
Yeah.
and so, yeah. So, I mean, this goes beyond just giving, like criticisms and reviews and people, asking for help in a group, but just a normal social media post. If you had a crappy day, why make somebody else have a crappy day reading it? You know what I mean? So like, I mean, I think some people just want to be heard,
Yes.
and I understand that, but my mentality is be heard for the right reasons. Don't, you know, if in this world there's so much negativity, be heard for your positivity. Don't be heard for, you know, you complaining isn't going to make it any better.
No.
So
Absolutely right. I definitely agree with you on that. And there might be people who disagree with it, and that's okay
Right.
too. But it's I think social media has unfortunately a sort of a negative side to it, which is the fact that a lot of people let off steam and
Mhm.
just say what they think without a filter. And that can lead to a lot of upset because, as you said, there's enough going on in the world without adding to that as well. So, yeah, I'm very mindful of what I say online and how I say it. And it's a good idea. It would be better if more people were like that. We're not
Right.
going to change people's opinion on that, I
Right.
don't think. But there you go. We try and help people mainly rather than than voicing our opinion. Although, of course, we do that as well.
Right.
It's human nature to voice your opinion. But
And
yeah,
we're
to
all
give.
and we're all experts at our own opinion,
Oh,
right?
definitely. Yeah, we could go on any quiz show and win on that subject.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I agree. I think the bottom line is when it comes to giving feedback and criticism, it really comes down to being helpful.
Mm.
Again, even if you have nothing nice to say, you can still say nothing nice in a nice way.
True.
You can still, like, and I think the analogy you gave it, imagine you're talking to a loved one or a friend or
Yeah.
someone that you care about, and you care about their opinion of you.
Mhm.
How would you give them this kind of criticism? And I think that's a really good way to look at it. And I
Yeah.
know some people are going to say that, the truth doesn't care about your feelings or whatever. And that's true, but you can show, I think it shows a lot about you as the
Yeah.
person giving the feedback and the criticism on how you do it.
Yeah.
And there's, like I've said before, but nothing positives comes from, you know, uh, you can learn positive things from negative feedback, but nothing positive comes from presenting it negatively.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
presenting it in a hateful way, or even just a very direct way. And some people just have that kind of personality where they're very direct, and
Yeah.
and so in cases like that, then I say, if that's you, then it may just be literally just listing pros, ... cons, ... and that's it. If that's the way you are, if you are very direct, very abrupt personality, then that's probably the best way for you to kind of give that kind of feedback is you're just giving them the facts. Here are the pros, here are the cons. That's simple.
Yeah.
So regardless of your personality, introvert, extrovert, whether you're abrupt or you don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, there's always ways to give feedback negatively and positively in a constructive way. And that's why it's called constructive criticism.
Absolutely. I think we can agree on that again.
Well, this has been another great Mastermind area. Once again, a huge thank you to all the listeners and viewers who came to tag along. If you enjoyed today's Mastermind, please consider following or subscribing to the podcast and maybe even leave us a review and let us know what you think. Until next week, I'm Keith Wheeler.
And I'm Nuria Colby.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining the Mastermind today. Be sure to follow the podcast on your platform of choice and tell a friend who would enjoy it too. Your support is greatly appreciated. This has been the Masterminding Success Podcast.